My name is Claudia Lash, and I am an avid quilter, have been for 40 years or more. And I can't do quilting right now. 5 weeks and 3 days ago, I fell and broke my upper arm, broke the humerus bone, which has sidelined the quilting. It's sidelined about anything that involves this hand. So the hand is getting better and the arm is improving. I'm doing a lot more now than I did 5 weeks ago. And I'm thrilled with that. Of course, you know, if you're a die-hard sewer and quilter and it's really hard because there's so many things you can't do. So I thought I would tell you a tip or two that doesn't involve me showing some sewing or something like that. One of the things that I have learned, I guess, over my many years, and I think it's helpful if you are a quilter, especially if you have found that you really enjoy making quilts. One of the things I started doing years ago, and I'm not sure if probably wasn't my first quilt or my second quilt, but I decided that it would be useful if I kept all of the pattern information, what I did in a folder. And I'm sure it wasn't the first or second quilt, but it did come along, and I have found, now that I have been quilting all these years, that it's really quite helpful to me if I've taken a class, or if I have learned a new technique, or if I've written a pattern about a particular block. Then if I have the folder on that, I can go back, because I keep them all, I can go back and check through that and say, oh, yes, I remember this was helpful. This doesn't work very well. So this is my first, and here is a folder for a pineapple block, because I made a pineapple quilt in the early 2000s. And I have an example of the block that's in a plastic bag. I also have several of the ideas for coloring. I have some of my EQ diagrams, and I taught a class, so that kind of is maybe why I have all this information. But now, if I want to go back and make another pineapple quilt, or just use a pineapple block in some other quilt, table runner, whatever, I can go back, and this is very helpful. I don't have to go digging around and trying to find stuff. So that's one little tip that I have used, and it's I thought it might be helpful for you. The other thing that I started doing quite a while ago, and that was, if I used to get lots of different quilt magazines, and they kind of build up, and I would see one or two things in a magazine that I thought, I kind of like that idea, or oh gosh, I wish I would put those colors with this, and so I decided, again, quite a while ago, that, you know, I don't need to keep the whole magazine. Instead, what I do, and when I get a pile of them, and this is something I can do with my one left hand, when I get a pile of them, I put them in front of me, and this one is fairly current. But I go through and I just look, and I say, oh yeah, I kind of like that. No, that's, you know, and I go through them and look at everything that and sometimes I will see a quilt that I particularly like. Maybe it's a winner at a quilt show or something, and I'll think, oh, you know, that is maybe something I want to veer off of and use something like that, but do a little different. So I take and I put a little tag on it. These are little sticky things, you know, that you can pull right up, and I stick it on the page where I found it. So here is one of the magazines I just went through, and here is a whole lesson on asymmetry in motion. It's designing quilts. It's by Gail Garber, using drawing circles, drawing how to use that asymmetry to make an interesting design. I thought, oh yeah, I think I took a class with Gail Garber years ago. But I thought, I do want to keep that. That's something that I'm going to keep. So what I do is, when I find the pages that I want to keep, after I've marked them, I will go through and I will cut them out with a razor blade. Cut all the pages out. Here are some that I have cut out from well, I didn't cut it out today. I had to have my helper cut it out. But I cut them all out, and I take a 3-ring binder hole punch, and I put them in a hole punch so that they have 3 holes in them. And then I can file them with these big notebooks here. Now, this top notebook says applique, and there are lots of different applique ideas in there. The other folder says pieced quilts, lots in that. Here are the other folders that I also have, and probably the one for this guy, techniques. I'm going to put this one about the drawing asymmetrical circles and blocks. I'm going to put that in the techniques folder, which I didn't bring in here, but I have it. I have a folder called 9-patch log cabin blocks, easy kids holiday other quilts. Some of the folders get kind of full. Wall quilts, star quilts, patchwork borders. And part of that I think came from a class that I took. And other quilt accessories. Now, whatever 3-ring binders you want to keep, that's, of course, is up to you. But I do find that they're helpful sometimes. If I am interested in making something, I will sometimes look back and say, oh yeah, I like that idea. I like that, the look of that quilt. I don't want to make the same quilt, but I want to take a design idea or something from something that I've seen and redo it and make it mine, and possibly it will become a quilt. So I suggest, if you still have a few years that you think you might be quilting, you might want to keep track of the ideas that you see in magazines. And of course, after I get this cut out, this magazine's going to go in the trash or recycle or something. So these don't pile up, and you have lots of things that can be your possible motivations for your quilt. And if you ever break your arm and you can't use your arm to sew, you can always go through magazines and find someone to cut the pages out and put them in notebooks. Well, once I get them poked, I can put them in notebooks. And I can look through those notebooks. And boy, when this arm is better and I can sew, I'm going to be full of new ideas. So, just a little hint for those of you that are just getting started in this wonderful art of quilting. Thanks for watching.